Hello, I'm Kaylin Carlson. Welcome back. Today we're going to be continuing our talk about transgressions, specifically what a traumatic transgression is. But first I'd like to share with you how the American Psychiatric Association defines trauma. And trauma is an emotional response to a terrible event. Immediately after the event, shock and denial are typical. Longer-term reactions include unpredictable emotions, flashbacks, strained relationships, and even physical symptoms like headaches or nausea. While these feelings are normal, some people have difficulty moving on with their lives. And it's important to understand that not all types of trauma result in a mental illness because there can be recovery. And it is when we can't move past something that happened, such as a horrible event. A lot of times we try to deny it. And what we're talking about today is about abortion trauma. And so there's that traumatic transgression is when we have betrayed ourselves or feel like there's been a betrayal of others. So a betrayal of myself when I had the abortion, I felt like it was wrong, and so I betrayed myself. Well, for me, it did result in trauma, and I had nightmares, and I had denial. I went into denial. I didn't want it to face what I had done. And I also had triggers, and we don't talk a lot about triggers so much with women or men that have had an abortion experience, but some of those triggers are even when you've had an experience with the father of the baby, and sometimes we see them differently after the abortion. Well, if we see them different, if we view them different, either the male or the female, that is a trigger, and you see them in a different light. Also, a trigger could be seeing a pregnant woman, seeing a person maybe that would be the age of your lost child, or even trying to stay away from even pregnancy resource centers, anything that would have you remember the abortion. And so the traumatic transgression, the thing that makes it more into a mental illness is if it causes trauma, if your abortion causes trauma. Now, a lot of times you can be healed and it's not even considered a mental illness, but there are other times that it does result in mental illness. And I have this article, the National Abortion Federation, they describe several risk factors for negative post-abortion psychological adjustment. And they say that if there might be difficulties if there was a commitment and attachment to the pregnancy, if there was perceived coercion to have an abortion, meaning if you felt pressured and you felt like I really wanted to have that child, but I can't, and so it was very meaningful and personal, that you could suffer from traumatic expression. Significant ambivalence about the abortion decision. And I didn't really understand ambivalence as the definition, so I looked it up. But ambivalence means the state of having mixed feelings or contradictory ideas about something or someone. So there is ambivalence about the abortion decision. It's, we hear women say, it wasn't easy, but I felt like I had to do it. And then putting great effort into keeping the abortion a secret for fear of stigma. And we've talked about the stigma of others finding out. And pre-existing experience of trauma, a lot of times this would happen to be sexual abuse or domestic violence, something of a traumatic nature in your past or present sexual, physical, or emotional abuse, unresolved past losses, and perception of abortion as a loss. And that's where I was at, that I felt like abortion was a loss, that I lost someone that I later, at the time of my abortion, I didn't know how much I would later love the child I lost. And then intense guilt and shame before the abortion, and existing emotional disorder or mental illness prior to the abortion, or appraisal of abortion as extremely stressful before it occurs. Well, that certainly happened with me. Expecting depression, severe guilt or grief, and regret after the abortion. And then belief that abortion is the same act as killing an unborn or a newborn infant. So if you believe that abortion is the same act as killing a newborn infant, but you go ahead and do it anyway, that would be a transgression if you feel like you're killing or allowing someone to kill your unborn child. So these are ways that a traumatic transgression can negatively impact your life from abortion. So next week we are going to be talking further about a traumatic transgression from a special person. Her name's Lisa, and I hope you can join us. She's going to be sharing her story. Thank you, and have a blessed week.